Welcome and Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and all that good stuff. It's another episode of the Church Solutions Podcast.
My name is Steve Lacy.
And my name is Phil Thompson. This is probably our last podcast for 2022. Can you believe that, Steve?
I know. This Christmas just snuck up on me.
Yeah,
I was amazed with oh, I thought I had another week. And then got into this Monday and went, no, this is the week. So
this is the week. The week. Yeah. And so we've done podcasts, I think, every week, as we always do over the last 58 years. This is episode number 366. And we do want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year if you're listening to this before those events happen. And we do want to tell you that we've had a good year with our customers. We appreciate our customers very much, and we're looking forward to 2023.
Yes, exactly.
All right. Speaking of 2023, we had a special going on here in December, and we're going to extend that. Tell us a little bit about what we're going to be doing.
Yes, we will make a $200 donation to your ministry just for giving us a try. So if you give us, if you're considering a new streaming service or want to move off of YouTube or Facebook and have a little more freedom with your own website, we will, if you create a free trial and stream your services, we'll donate to your church.
Yep, it's that simple. There's no strings attached, no obligation or anything like that.
And no credit card required.
Yeah, no credit card required.
And you don't have to activate, you don't have to buy an account with us. You can just do the free trial and be done.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work for you.
And obviously we think that you're going to be so impressed with our customer service and the quality of what we offer that you will want to, eventually activate and go with us. But, look, we're not high pressure, so don't feel that way. We won't be bugging you, pressuring you and all that stuff. But, that's our goal is to let you see what we do, and hopefully you'll like it, and hopefully it will help your church. That's what we're in this for.
Yes. So what are we talking about today?
Well, so I think it'd be good to review some things today because the holidays are coming up, and it's just a drag when you're trying to do streaming video over the holidays, because you will have people that are out of town that want to watch the service because of the holidays and they want to catch your service, or even new people that might be, hey, check these guys out. We might want to go to church next year. And so let's check these guys out here in December. And it's a drag when things don't go well, when there's buffering, when there's videos freezing, when there's just audio issues, when there's just a mix of or one of any of those things can just spoil the whole experience. And so what I thought we could talk about today was how we can really try to prevent some of that stuff. If you're streaming from your church, out there, here are some tips that we want to give you that hopefully will prevent some of these problems from happening. And look, let's face it. Let me just say this right off the bat. The internet is fickle. I mean, there are people that have great connection speeds and fiber optic, and every once in a while, it still goes wrong. The internet still kind of goofs things up. And so, it does happen from time to time with the best internet. But here are some things that we can talk about that maybe limit some of these potential problems.
This is kind of based on our combined years of experience helping ministries out with just this problem. And you would kind of put this list together. It's a top 10 list, but I think it's ordered in frequency or number one cause, or the most likely cause of the problem. So so
I think so.
We'll go through this here and
we can jump through it and talk a little bit about it.
Yeah. All right. So we ready to get into it? Number one.
I just want to remind people too that, you can always look at some of this stuff at our blog. We have a blog.streamingchurch.tv. So you can always look at some of these notes and things that we talk about. Yes. All right. Yeah. Let's just jump into it.
So the blog, actually the title of the blog is "Help, My Video is Choppy."
That's this one. Yeah. There's other ones.
Yeah, there's other ones, but this one we're talking about. And the number one remedy or precaution is to test your internet upload speed. That's
Yeah.
the first thing we ask. It's always, we'll ask,
Yeah.
well, what church are you with? If they haven't made that clear.
Yeah.
And then we'll say, what's your upload speed?
Yeah. Yeah. And keep in mind, we're available Sunday mornings. We do live support. So we get this occasionally from people going, the problem is choppy. The video's not working. What's wrong? It must be your fault. And it's like, well, yeah. So look, this annoys some people on the other end. But the truth is, as I just said earlier, the internet doesn't always come through for you. And so it's always a good idea to test your internet upload speed before you start streaming. And I know, I've talked to people, yeah, I tested it 6 months ago. Well, that may not be the case. Things change and there's
Or
reasons for
another
this.
really common answer is, oh, I don't need to test it. I pay for 40 megabits upload, and that's my contract with them.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Right.
so, but we're having buffering, and your encoder is saying that it can't send the stream as fast as you want to send the stream. So yeah, and we're talking upload speed. Another common thing is people go, well, I've got 100 megs down or 200 megs down, so I shouldn't have a problem.
Yeah.
Upload is the only one that really matters when you're sending a stream.
Yeah, you really want to test it. And I would I would use something else. We have a speed test called speed.streamingchurch.tv. It does go to a third party provider, but I would suggest not using your provider's speed test. So like Comcast and Xfinity have speed tests. Well, it's always going to be higher with those guys.
Yeah, because they're basically gonna check your speed from your house to the nearest point they can on the internet, and that's going to be something really close, and it's going to be pretty good a lot of times. But it's just better to do some tests at across the nation kind of thing, or to your local ingest point. So
something unbiased. Yeah, absolutely. But that will give you, and I would do a couple of them. And honestly, I would do it while you're streaming too. I would do it before you stream, and then, once you're streaming here, do it again just to see how things are looking. And look, I know that there are people listening to this, pastors, and I'm so busy, admin people and stuff. But look, if you want to have success in your stream, you got to figure out a way to make some time to check some of these things that we're going to talk about today.
Yes, and this is the most common issue. And a lot of times they'll, like you said, we'll get into discussions. No, I'm paying for this, and well, let's humor me. Go, let's run a test, and they're like, ooh, wow, I've got 2 megabits pop. Why is that? And I'm like, well, not sure why that is, but that's the cause of your problem.
I have Xfinity in my office, and they tell me, I don't know what they tell me on my bill, that I have so much upload speed. I don't. It's just not a reality, so.
And it's interesting how it varies from time to time too. If you just do speed tests different times, and I don't know if this is on our list as well, but I think it is. It's maybe further down our list, but
depending on people, you mean if you have people on it?
Yeah, that's been another culprit, because a lot of churches have open Wi-Fi, and people walk through the door and they've got 40 megabits upload, and all of a sudden 300 phones connect to their Wi-Fi, and there's guys watching the game and playing this or doing that, and all of a sudden where on Saturday evening it was 40 meg up and down, and 200 down, all of a sudden Sunday morning it's like crawling.
Well, yeah. So, and it could be even your neighborhood. I mean, honestly, it could not even people in your church. It could affect your neighborhood. Your neighborhood could affect it as well. So there's different factors there. So we're not trying to paint a dark picture here. We're just saying, check it and see what's going on.
Yeah. And we're beating on this one because this is the number one cause. Yeah. This is probably 60-70% of the calls that we receive are this issue.
The live chats we get. And look, the solution to this is lower your quality of your video, or at least lower the bit rate. So, we're talking about the problem here. So, well, what do I do if my internet's not very fast? Well, you could still stream depending on how much you have, and as long as you're consistent with your connection, but you may have to lower the video quality from 1080, 720 to 480p maybe, I don't know. And you can even lower, depending on your encoder, you can even lower the bit rate that's associated with the resolution. Does that make
Right.
sense?
Yeah.
So, and honestly, a lot of these people have high bit rates they recommend for certain resolutions, and honestly, you don't need to have that high of a bit rate to stream at 1080p or 720p. Uh, I mean, that's my perspective. But so the
So
solution to that it is make adjustments in your live encoder.
yes, and what you're doing through doing this is you're just adding margin.
Yeah,
So your margin is the space between what you're sending and what you can send.
yeah,
So
yeah,
your capability of sending.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah. If your ceiling's only 5 megabytes per second, that's your upload speed. If it's only 5, then lower your video bit rate to maybe 2. You
yeah.
know, and you probably would have better success or even less. And, you know,
All
it,
right. So
yeah, it's really about audio and not so much video. And we've hammered this a lot over the years too. But people, if they're watching, they certainly want to hear what's going on and what's being
mhm,
said. And they can tolerate the video quality maybe not being ultra HD. That's not really an issue. It's the audio. If you can have great video and if your audio sucks, you've lost people. So
right.
all right,
Yeah. All
very
right.
good.
So number one is test your speed. Number two is lower your
Yeah,
quality of your video and your settings on your
yeah.
encoder,
I
and
just
that'll
got
give
ahead of
you
myself there, didn't I? Yeah,
that'll give you some margin. Number three is watching your computer's processor level. This is for software encoders,
yeah,
and this is probably the number one thing is usually I don't have enough bandwidth, and then the next most common is my computer's at 100% CPU,
yeah,
and it's having a hard time keeping up
yeah,
encoding,
yeah.
basically
It's
encoding and sending the stream.
yeah, it's given up. It's given the ghost up. It's struggling to try to process all this data, and it could be a problem. Uh, and so what's the solution to this? If your computer, and by the way, this can be with hardware encoders too. There's hardware based encoders that are boxes. They can be overwhelmed too at times, depending on the situation. But if we're talking here about OBS or vMix or Wirecast, something like that on your computer, what's the solution to this if your processor's just running too hot? How do you
So
fix that?
so there's a few solutions. I mean, a lot of times uh, the the processor is sending multiple streams and recording a stream on the encoder software is doing that. So you want to kind of watch what you're asking the encoder to do, and then also look at what else is on that computer and what else is going on that computer. So if
Yeah,
I thought, oh, I got a computer and I got to run ProPresenter and I'm going to encode and stream, and I'm also going to, manage the camera pivoting or, whatever, all this stuff on the same computer. You just got to watch what's going on.
yeah, absolutely. There can be some other things. This is not in my notes, I don't think, but if most cases, if you're going into your computer, you need what we call a video capture device, which is something, in front of the camera or behind the camera that's it's like an adapter between the camera and the computer. So if you're doing that kind of streaming, your video capture device could be the culprit as well. I don't know if I've got that down here on the list or not, but it certainly could be. If you have a cheap video capture device,
Yeah.
because it's got to do some processing too. And
Yeah. And there are some really inexpensive
yeah,
um,
yeah,
video capture devices that are out there that it's kind of, yeah, you get what you pay for,
yeah.
So
So that can affect it. That can cause buffering. That can cause problems. And we like Magwell devices, and there's other ones now too. But years ago, we started doing Magwell because you didn't have to download drivers; you could just plug and play. Some of
yeah,
them you have to download drivers on your computer, and then you got to figure out is the driver updated and did the driver take, and all that stuff. And so, but that can be uh, I'll plug this now before I forget. You can get free consultation from us anytime you want. So just go to streamingchurch.tv if you need, and we're not going to sell you something, but if you need some consultation and some help on some of these things we're talking about, we're here to help.
yes. All right. So actually, watch your computer's processor level. Number 4 was don't overload your live encoder, which
Yeah.
is what I was just talking about,
Right.
which has to do with a lot of times on the encoder, you'll want to say, well, I'm going to record a high resolution one and a low resolution one and send, 3 streams out. And then all of a sudden your encoder's having to encode, video into 5 different destinations at the same time. And so it just can't keep up.
It can't keep
So
up.
yeah, so if you run into that problem, one of the things is, well, maybe I'll consider recording on a different device and make my backup recording there, and or just limit the number of and then the other thing that has to do with that is make sure that you have frame rate set right and bit rate set right. If you're broadcasting a football game or a race or something like that, you need the 60 frames per second. But if you're broadcasting a church service where it's a worship band or a pastor speaking, 30 frames per second is more than enough because they don't move around too much. So
Unless your pastor runs up and down the aisles. Then you
well,
might want
and
to adjust your.
constantly runs up and down the
Yeah,
aisles, but
yeah. You might
where
want
you're
to
having
adjust
to, yes, if you have fast action, yes, you may notice a difference in your frame rate. So, but just that one adjustment will decrease the load on your computer by 50%. So
Yeah.
just if you're at 60 frames per second, you go to 30 frames, you just told the computer, you don't drive at 100 miles an hour, you just drive at 50 miles an hour. So it dramatically reduces the workload.
Good analogy. And again, somebody listening to this going, oh no, what do I do? It's like, just look, reach out to us and we'll help you with this stuff. Okay. Just go to streamingchurch.tv and reach out to us. And
Yes. So that was number 4. Don't overload your live encoder. Number 5, we kind of hinted on as
yeah, we
well,
did. Yeah, we already
which
did.
was restrict the amount of devices connected to your network. And I guess I talked about that.
Yeah, I think so.
Kind of,
People connected, but also stuff, if you've got stuff going on, I don't know, and office stuff. And I mean, normally there's not a
yeah.
whole lot of activity on Sunday
Or
morning in the
a
office.
pretty
There might be
common
some.
thing would be, hey, I recorded the first service and we store all our stuff in Dropbox. So I'm going to upload the recording to Dropbox while we're broadcasting the second service. That's gonna kill you.
Yeah, that's a good point. I forgot about that. Yeah, if you're uploading stuff while you're streaming, that can take away from your internet and cause all sorts
Yeah.
of problems. Yeah, absolutely. So you just got to look at some of that stuff, and we've said this before, but some churches actually have a couple networks. So if you're fortunate enough to be able to do that, or you want to do that, that can certainly solve a problem. If you've got so much activity going on, you can restrict people from your network, and you could even get another network. And of course, passwords are always good
and
to
when we
have.
say another network, we mean another internet service provider, because
Yes.
the network in your facility, you can create a separate network for that, but if it goes through the same
Pipe.
connection pipe to the internet. So yeah, actually we did that at our church for a while.
Yeah.
Where we had a cable and a DSL, I believe.
Yeah. I for a long time I couldn't get cable. When I worked there at your church, I couldn't. It was hard to get cable where we were at. They wouldn't let us. They wouldn't. Now they have it, but back then it's like, oh, we don't have that in your neighborhood.
Yeah, so we protected the outgoing pipe for the streaming.
Yeah. So there's some creative things you can do.
Yes, and speaking of that, I mean, it wasn't, I don't know how many weeks ago, one of the people on staff at my church said, he reached out and said, you guys have trouble on your servers. We weren't able to stream the service. And I said, no issues on our end. And he went in and restarted their router and modem, and all the problems went away. So that's number 6 on our list, is restart your router and modem. And it was just, they weren't getting any upload, and things that the connections were just real spotty. It would connect and then disconnect. And so they went through the exercise of just rebooting the router and unplugging the modem that connects to your our cable connection, and let everything reboot, and then everything was fine. So he's
Yeah.
good for another several months.
Yeah. You know, you'll find it to be true in your home with stuff too, and not just your router at home, but even like we have TV. My wife likes to watch these things on TV, and the DVR system. It's a little, basically a little computer. What's the thing called? I forget what it's even called. I don't pay much attention to it. But every once in a while you have to unplug it and just kind of let it reboot.
You got a DVR that came from the cable company?
Yeah, from the cable. Well, not from the cable company. Yeah, I guess it did come from the cable company. I don't know. She's got. Oh no, it's from Dish. We have Dish.
Dish, yeah. You're thinking, yeah. We
what's it
used to
called? I want to
have.
call it the Hubble, but it's not the
We
Hubble.
used to have TiVo, which would have been an equivalent kind of thing, but
yeah. But you know, equipment needs to sometimes reboot. Your computers, you know, your office need to reboot them. And I'll just tell you this: if you've got a hardware-based live encoder, you shouldn't have that thing running all the time. I literally would tell you to unplug it when you're done. And then, you know, reboot it, you know, don't reboot it right before the service, but reboot it maybe when you walk in the door. Hopefully you walk in the door with enough time, an hour or two before the service, so you can let it reboot. But I would unplug. That's the other problem I've seen people have with some of these hardware-based live encoders.
Yeah.
They're plugged in all the time, and they're hot. They're running hot all week long.
Yeah, that was actually number 10 on our list.
Well, I jumped ahead.
So. You're jumping ahead. So let's number 7. So 6 is restart your router or modem. Number 7 is move wireless router closer to the streaming device, or vice versa, I guess.
Yeah. And this is if you can't use, and the other one under this one, we're looking at these notes together. I mean, ideally, you should have wired Ethernet connection, wired internet connection. But let's talk about this one here. That's your wireless router. That can be a problem sometimes, and so you need to, if you're forced to use wireless, then you really need to try to get it as close as you can to your encoder.
Yes.
Right.
And I know in the homes, the number one interference device is your microwave.
Oh yeah, it's true. I guess
probably shouldn't put your router on top of your microwave.
On top of your microwave. I hadn't thought about that. That's true.
Yes, yeah. It's one of the chief ways to mess up your wired.
Gum everything up. Huh? Wow.
Yeah, or try to stick a running microwave between your laptop and your router and see how things go.
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah. So, you know, if you're forced to use wireless, we don't recommend it, but if you're forced to, you know, do the very best you can to get it as close as you can and keep away from iron walls and, you know, metal objects and maybe other electronical devices besides the microwave. I don't know what else could mess it up, but I'm sure there's something out there.
Yeah. All right. So number 7 was the move your wireless closer. Number 8 was use a wired connection, which Phil recommends. And then number 9, which I guess is the last one on our list, since we already covered 10, is make sure your computer is healthy.
Yeah, healthy and wealthy. You know, and we've run across this over the years too. We've been doing this for so long that there's almost nothing we haven't run across, but I'm sure there's something out there. But, you know, I've had people call me and tell me there's porn on their computer and stuff like that. They have no idea where it came from. I'm like, well, your computer, if it's been sitting at the church and it's been running.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not
to freak people out with a porn statement there, but that's true story. I mean, I've had people tell me there's all sorts of weird stuff on my computer. Well,
yes,
didn't come from us as a company. It came from, you know, I don't know, your youth leader. I don't know. I don't know, you know, sorry, youth leaders.
Or just a computer on the internet. I mean, you'd be amazed looking at, you know, I review server logs for all our server stuff. Just the number of attempted attacks all the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, just having a computer running and on the internet, you're suspect to having some issues, some virus wares. And you know, I've never been a big Microsoft Windows fan. I subscribe to the belief, and I think I should have implemented it recently here with a friend. I was over at his house and I was like, man, your computer is so slow. And it's the only computer they had. And he's like, that's slow. And I'm like, yeah, when you click on something, you shouldn't have to wait 5 to 30 seconds for something to happen.
Right.
You know, it should just pop up. And anyway, it turned out the computer was only 5 years old. So he ended up replacing it with a newer computer. And then I thought, oh, you know what probably would have fixed this is just wipe the hard drive, reinstall Windows,
Yeah.
and you'll probably be fast again. So
Yeah. Yeah, there are some solutions to this. Yeah, you don't have to necessarily go out and buy a new one. Not
yeah,
necessarily. I mean, you
yeah.
could have a problem with your drive. That could be the problem. But
Yeah, it could be the drive or yeah. Or I swear Windows out of the box is smoking fast, but and then it slows down after 6 months and it's a little slower after a year, and then it starts acting weird at a year and a half where you do the strength, does the strange thing. And then 3, 4 years later, it is just a garbage pail, in my opinion. And it
yeah,
just it's time to start over.
yeah.
So
I've been
but
real fortunate with this machine right here. I've been real fortunate. I've had it for years, but also, you know, if you can get a solid state drive, that will help you as well.
yeah, that'll make a big difference.
Solid state drive, and they're easy to put in and change out.
So yeah, and on the PC, just run your Windows Defender, keep your OS updated, and that'll keep the bad guys away.
Shut it down. You ought to, don't leave it. It's just like I said with the live encoder, you know, don't leave it running all the time.
Yeah.
I would shut the thing down.
Yeah. All right.
Just make sure when you do reboot it in the morning, Sunday morning, that you reboot it with enough time because Windows will many times decide, yeah, you're going to get this update whether you like it or not.
Yes.
And so they will do updates. We've had that happen at my church one time. Somebody, I don't know what the deal was, they booted the thing up, and you know, 40 minutes later, Windows is trying to update.
Yeah.
You know, the service is starting soon. We don't know what's going to happen. We can't, you know, and so it just can freak out. All right. Where are we going? Are we beating this horse?
I think we got it. I think we made it through our list.
Yeah, shut down all that stuff. All right. So look, we're extending this offer. We got a special offer for you. Stream for free with a free trial, and we'll donate $200 to your church. It's that simple. And go to streamingchurch.tv for details, and you'll see it there. And there's just a couple little things, like you got to be a church, you got to have it, and got to have the stream on your website, got to stream a couple times at least. Do it, take advantage of it. If you're not going to do it here in December, you can do it in January, but don't wait too long, because this offer may expire soon, as they say, right? And so, Steve, I want to wish you, I know I'm going to see you before this, but or before Christmas, but I want to wish you and your family a very Merry Christmas.
Oh, thank you. I wish you guys too.
Yeah. And that goes to everybody out here. Thank you for listening to us and watching us, if you do that. And if you're a customer, that's great. If you're not, well, no, you should be, but if you're not, you can always be one. And we do wish you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And look, subscribe to us. If you just happen to catching us somewhere, just wherever you get your podcast, just look for Church Solutions Podcast, and you can subscribe to us and never miss a podcast. You can give us a rating. And again, if we can help you with anything else, even if you're not a customer, we would be honored to try to help you in your church. That's what we're all about here. So just reach out to us at streamingchurch.tv. We're done here.
All right. Sounds good.
All right, folks, take care of yourselves and each other. We'll catch you next time on another episode of the Church Solutions Podcast. My name is Phil Thompson.